Here we go, folks. It's time for game number 3. Cloud9, Epsilon, and Epsilon starts right away by eliminating that Giannis.
So it looks like Giannis is going to be the recurring theme for this set so far. Game number 1 made a huge impact. Games 2 and 3 already banned first right off the table. Cloud9 going to go ahead and ban Xingchen, not wanting to deal with that nuisance.
And Cloud9, after their loss, electing to take second pick here. A little bit of a switch up. We've seen Enemy have a lot of success on that first pick, most notably leaving open really powerful solo laners.
I think we're going to see a Bellona ban, because basically if you ban Xingchen, you ban Bellona. If you leave Xingchen open, we leave Bellona open.
Yeah. It's probably going to happen. Or no, they're not going to.
Unless C9 have a counter to it, right? They could have something that they've been waiting for. Bellona here, likely to be picked up by Epsilon, but it's not guaranteed. They could look for the Zeus as well.
Yeah, the obvious counter to a Bellona solo lane would just typically be a Guardian coming in the solo lane. Most popular definitely going to be the Sobek.
There's been another one that's been talked of. If Bellona's picked up here, I'm gonna say it, but it's pretty secret. It's something you haven't seen in solo lane in a long time.
All right, well, it looks like Bellona is going to be locked in. So no surprise there, as it was ripe for the picking.
I think they might save it for later, but I heard Cloud9 have been experimenting with some Kumba solo.
Really?
Some Kumba to counter Bellona specifically.
Well, Kumbakarna has the right mechanics to stop the Bellona bludgeon with the Mesmerize, and her ulti, his ulti rather, with full CDR is something along the lines of 36 seconds, so you could just spam that and try to get a lot of lane control.
All right, and the Thor Neith pickup there for Cloud9.
I guess C9 is sticking to picking up Neith and to not let it to emiltoo, because emiltoo has a pretty good Neith.
He also has a good Freya too, though. And that's kind of a flavor pick that, you know, no one really likes banning out until you face someone who has a very good Freya. Reels and emiltoo are those two players in Europe.
So, similar to game 1, we do have the Thor and the Neith for C9. Now, if we're looking for a global mid-god for C9 that's not Giannis, it's definitely going to be Nuwa. It's very safe, and you're going to have a lot of pressure into one of the side lanes, whichever lane andinster decides to gank.
There's also a very small frame, so Hunbat's ult actually has a delay when it comes out, a very slight delay, which allows players with high mechanical skill to get abilities off or actives off before it hits. Nuwa's ultimate is actually a very fast pre-fire delay, which means if you see the Hunbat start to ult, you can actually ult with Nuwa and avoid it completely.
I'd like to see Nox out of C9, because they have Thor already, and Nox, Thor is a pretty good combo, and you've seen MLC stuff playing Nox already, and he's had a really good Nox.
Okay, that's going to be a Geb pick.
Yeah, so with Khepri being banned, Geb is the second best safeguard in terms of keeping everyone else alive. So not surprised there for C9 to pick that one up as Isis gets banned by C9.
Okay, thoughts in regards to the Isis ban here, Adonis?
I think Yammyn just was too good at it this last game, especially shutting down the Zeus, and maybe C9's looking for the Zeus themselves in that regard. Sobek banned away. Obviously, Epsilon don't want to deal with that counter matchup.
Yeah, but we'll see that secret pocket.
I want to see the Kumba, man. I want to see the Kumba. We realistically could see a Kumba Nox here.
If they wanted to pick Sobek against Bellona, they would have done before the ban, I would say.
Maybe they could have preferred the Geb too. Just to make sure they secure that.
It could also be like a Hades solo. It could be Ymir solo. Well. Any Guardian would be a good counter to Bellona, realistically.
And Tyr does kind of well against Freya, depending, right? If Tyr can get in the face, so strong, but if Freya kites properly, it's a bad matchup for him. It's a lot about positioning.
Yeah, well, Freya late game is very scary.
You want to do that.
That's true.
So there's the Guardian we were mentioning. It's not the Kumbakarna, it is the Athena though, and it's also a very good solo laner there. They have another additional god with a global presence. Athena's going to be able to farm very safely, going to be able to stop the bludgeon and not going to be able to get poked out. And it's going to be able to rotate to any team fight around the dual lane or mid lane.
I feel like this is going to be similar to game 1 again, where Cloud9, right, their composition, if it gets behind early, not very good, especially in the 5v5 team fights, but they have so much mobility and they really know how to space players out. And honestly, that Nuwa, you know, Yammyn's had a phenomenal Nuwa during the split, but like you said, that could have been something Stealth had been looking for as well, so taking that pick away.
Yeah, that's very huge to take that away, because not only is Nuwa good and safe, you have the Thor to set her up. So you don't want to give C9 that complement between the mid lane and the jungle.
Last pick here, coming out of Cloud9, Guan Yu locked in, and okay.
This could be real.
Could be real?
I think so, actually.
They have a lot of protect for the Artemis.
So, I mean, BaRRaCCuDDa has been highlighting a bunch of hunters that he hasn't locked in. But Xbalanque definitely a strong, solid performing god here coming for BaRRaCCuDDa.
4 globals.
Well, that's going to be it for the picks and bans. QE with you. Who do you think's got it?
I'm sticking to C9.
The C9 global pressure this game, I think, is going to be too strong for Epsilon to handle.
I don't think Stealth's Hunter mids are that strong. I got to give it to Epsilon.
Ooh, okay. And I'm going to go with Cloud9. All right, folks, make some noise. Game number 3 is about to begin between these two masterclass teams, Epsilon versus Cloud9. Casters, take it from here.
Hey there, Smite fans. Welcome back to the commentary platform. One more time.
Not desk.
It's not a desk. We
No
are
desk
standing,
here.
as you may have noticed. It's game number 3 of Cloud9 versus Epsilon, 1 apiece, and Cloud9 has gone fully global.
I don't know about this comp. They have very, very little magic damage. Items like Mid-Guardian Mail are going to shut this comp down super hard. I think Epsilon's going to have this one.
Not just the items, the Bellona pick itself is so good against Double Hunter. The disarm, plus her and the Guan Yu can easily
Thank you.
take down any hunter on C9.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think the Freya, once again, is going to potentially be the turning point here for the Epsilon squad. They have the Hunbots as well to follow it up. Nuwa, as you were mentioning, very, very good against those compositions that like to dive her. But seems like the real X factor in this one, for me at least, is going to be maybe that Guan Yu. Like it's the least obvious pick, I think, on the squad, and really should be the make or break, right? Because if the Nuwa Guan Yu works, your push is unreal.
Yeah, Epsilon really wants to go for the support that gives them the lane advantage. The first game with the Freya, they picked Khepri, and now they got Guan to get Freya out of the laning phase.
I mean, check it out. They have no real major amount of healing on the side of Cloud9 and no magic damage. Guan Yu is going to be able to tank up the front line with very heavy physical defense and then send that damage back in terms of healing for his team using Conviction. I think that iRaffer has drafted the perfect god for this. And again,
Not a misclick.
Yeah, okay. emiltoo was like, no, I did mess up the first time. I just wanted to do it again.
Now I really like it.
Again, it really does make sense what the dual lane of Epsilon is doing. They just want to get out of that early game laning phase. They don't want to get invaded on. They have the Hog secure. They have the strong support in lane.
Yeah, often you'll see like an Achilles spear or something, you know, in that spot for the Freya, but instead it will be the Hand of the Gods to help assist with the early clear. But I do want to point out on the side of Cloud9 as well, you got 2 Transcendences that are going to be rushed down by both of the Hunters. A tremendous amount of power scaling going to come out of these two.
Yeah, I mean, that spells to me that they want to be aggressive early, try to use that Athena ult from the solo lane, and pressure this Freya all game.
Yeah, so it may ultimately come down to Dimi here on the side of Epsilon, you know, depending on how much they force this Athena rotation.
Did you notice instead of taking Tallow Assault, he took the dash? This ensures that Yammyn would have taken less damage. She used the root, of course, to lock him in place. I don't know if this was a misclick. They definitely lost about 3 seconds off this.
I don't think so, because I think that they're using the dash for the higher burst damage to use the hog at the purple.
Possible, yeah.
Right,
possible.
that should, I would assume that
Actually,
that does
I don't know if that's enough damage. It might not be.
Well, they are first to lane nonetheless with that hog, and Epsilon off to a start here. They do have a small experience advantage over BaRRaCCuDDa on the side of emiltoo.
Man, it's been a long time since we've seen a team change the meta so drastically. And I mean, the Ymir wall leveling and then Freya with Hand of the Gods, this is some really interesting and intuitive stuff.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to see the most is how much pressure can this Neith mid play. I haven't really seen Stealth play the Neith mid. I've usually seen him on majors like Zong, Zeus, and Giannis.
Yeah, big question mark here. I mean, this definitely feels like a pocket trap from Cloud9. We just really haven't seen that Neith play, but early on here with those 2 physical damage dealers, Thor and Neith are going to go for the early invade on the back camps, and they will be ever so successful.
Yeah, adapting was super late on that monkey toss. He'll go over to the left side. They shouldn't be hurt too much over the next 30 seconds, but they're definitely going to hit level 5 after their opponents.
A little bit of a curious play by adapting. He really had no chance to steal those Harpies and kind of delayed his farm a little bit from that play.
He's going to be able to jump down here. Get some golden experience, but I mean, again, right into the jungle goes the red team. They're already a camp up there in a perfect spot, adapting, going back already. This will be boots 2.
Yeah, the early boots 2 going to come up for Hunbots, and also an early beads 1 going to be picked up.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow. He pocketed a lot of gold in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that says to me that Epsilon knows that C9 is going to be very aggressive with that Thor Neith, and Hunbots wants to be ready for it.
Yeah, that Thor Neith combination is pretty much a guaranteed kill onto an assassin for the vast majority of the game. Just the damage of those abilities alone, maybe enough. iRaffer taking a ton of damage there.
And not clearing the wave does Blue. I mean, they kind of got pushed back a little bit. Very surprising considering where they wound up. I really thought we were going to see the Tallow Assault and then the Pulse. It seems like they didn't do enough damage to the archers.
Yeah, Thor and Neith here both hit level 5. Look for an aggressive play either on the dual lane or mid.
Double Global's very dangerous at this
Thor
stage.
over on the left side for now, but shading back towards the mid lane. Nuwa likely to be the first target there, if not adapting.
Thor in the jungle. Andy looking for something big here. Stealth, no, actually, Andy's going to take a trip back.
A little bit telegraphed by Stealth there. You know, when the Neith is just last hitting and not pushing, when usually she does, that tells Epsilon that a gank is coming.
Well, nothing gained so far. A lot of globals, or actually MLC just kind of throwing this out, keeping them honest. Something that we saw from emiltoo during season play, just by charging the ultimate puts a lot of pressure on the map. It actually clouds communications big time too. It'll say she's looking right, she's looking at me, she's looking to the left. You know, you guys got to be careful.
Right, that
going in.
Exactly, that's a big thing. Mind games. Every time you clear a wave, you kind of want to pretend you're rotating because the other team has to call it. Has to call Freya missing or Nuwa missing, and that clutters comms.
BaRRaCCuDDa pushing it down. JeffHindla getting control of iRaffer. Both of them level 5 compared to the level 4s on the bottom.
Yeah, well, Guan Yu plus Freya should have the early push advantage versus Neith. Geb, you know, with the absence of Neith using a lot of abilities here, how has Cloud9 wrestled lane control?
If you saw that one time when the camera went to the duo lane, the Guan Yu took half his HP trying to poke at the Xbalanque, and that let the Geb and Xbalanque push up and make their presence felt.
The late game of Humbots is just a tad bit stronger than Thor. I think Thor's biggest push is from level 12 to level 15, and we're not seeing a lot of rush right now out of Andy. Granted, he's only level 6, but at this stage of the game, the gank potential's so high, so much combo potential with the other global ultimates. I'm surprised to see Andy taking a back seat.
Yeah, and I love what C9 did there. They have the global pressure from the Athena. If Epsilon ever decides to take a fight and fully commit, Athena will ult, and it will be a 5v4.
Then, of course, that does make quite a bit of space for the Bellona, who is currently your top net worth in the game from the solo lane on Epsilon.
Yeah, wow, 3,200's been putting kind of the work to Athena. Maybe not terribly unsurprising, but usually Athena has some pretty safe clear. You dash through the wave, you of course, throw the reach to make sure that everything's grouped up, and the shield wall just clears the wave for free. But we saw Baskin kind of aiming just for the melees. It seems like he's possibly very afraid to deal with Dimi's Bellona.
Right, Bellona has the advantage against the Athena in the early levels, but with natural scaling, Guardians have very high scaling, and soon around level 9, 10, 11, the Athena could start poking out the Bellona pretty heavily.
Backside, adapting again, getting more experience. Yammyn not going to get here in time. He'll take that down. Adapting, no mana right now.
Both of the Transcendences are going to be completed now as Xbalanque falls back to the base. Already back in lane is Neith with a couple of stacks to her credit. And, well, now the real power spike in the early game has arrived for Cloud9. Can they make anything out of it?
It's possible, I guess.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, with Thor Neith, it's always possible.
I want to see these globals get used, though. It's been, 5 minutes into the game. At one point, we had saw, 9 kills and a Gold Fury go off at this point, and this time they're playing it very safe. I mean, Game 3, they're probably playing a lot more nervous than they were.
Yeah, also, Epsilon has done a great job of weathering the storm of the Neith and Thor. They haven't even been poked out once yet, and the later this game goes, the more powerful Nuwa is going to get.
Yeah, I like how Jeff and iRaffer here appear to have just, given each other a handshake and been like, let's not go for cooldown boots this game.
They both go for the tank boots. This will provide a little bit different than their normal cooldown reduction. They're going to get a little bit more defense out of these. Very small amount, but it's still useful, especially the cooldown, the CC reduction.
Exactly. On that point, he doesn't want to get Freya whooped into a lot of follow-up damage, as well as the Guan Yu doesn't want to get taunted for max time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything more threatening than this Athena right now, except for maybe this Freya, but BaRRaCCuDDa gets out of that one safely. JeffHindla immediately rotates back and keeps iRaffer honest.
Thor shading over to the left side here as Epsilon does get a little bit aggressive, has a decent angle here, does Andy as well, but immediately will realize that it's just not going to happen. Not even running over a ward, just game sense from Epsilon.
Yeah, he was clear too. I'm surprised that the presence of mind in Epsilon was so strong that they backed up so quickly, but still, BaRRaCCuDDa keeping them locked under that tower.
Yeah, Epsilon showing great discipline here. They know that C9 has all the global pressure. They will go for that aggressive play when they have the time, and then they back up right away because they know the rotation could be coming.
A rare missed double tap coming out from Andy after the stun. Not seeing a lot of top-level junglers do that.
Ooh, this is shaping up to potentially be a 4v4 here in the Epsilon jungle. No, just poke coming out from andinsters. They're going to try to flex their muscles here at the purple buff. Off the mark there, rare miss by MLC Stealth. Maybe belying a little bit of his lack of experience with these hunters, and the first use of these globals is going to come up empty from Cloud9.
Yeah, Andy, a little bit too close to the chest there. He needed to get out a little bit farther. We do have a rotation, it seems, from the solo as well. Dimi's here. He did use his teleport to get over to this side. BaRRaCCuDDa getting chased down. Going to use Darkest of Night to try to turn it. Nuwa to the air is going to use that small amount of global damage. So far, no one really has control over this, but there's a lot more ultimates right now on the side of Epsilon.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty heavy rotations onto the purple buff. You can see that's C9's game plan with the Athena, although they did force the 180-second cooldown of the teleport from Dimi.
Looks like we are going to have a fight breaking out over here just at the top side of the Gold Fury. And a lot of trouble with iRaffer. JeffHindla getting poked down as well. BaRRaCCuDDa has already fallen in this fight. And it is first blood in favor of Epsilon and looking for more as andinster starts eating the gumballs. On the backside, MLC Cell going to look to run down Yammyn. He's going to need at least a couple more shots and an ability. Now he is out of position as MLC Cell is overextended and will get cleaned up by the Epsilon squad for the second kill of the game.
Baskin pulls him in, not enough damage. Dimi able to get out of that one. It's going to be a 2-for-0 at the end of that fight in favor of Europe.
Yeah, very impressive team fight. I love, again, I'm always paying attention to the Hunter emiltoo. He could have chased the Geb there for a whoop, but instead he turned immediately to the full HP Thor and got him out of the fight.
Gold Fury still available. Epsilon with a somewhat better control over the map right now, and you'll notice the gold
Andy is
difference
desperate
strikes.
for this kill here onto adapting. He bought Teleport 1 to move back in. Going to try to bait the leap and will indeed. That's all he's going to get out of the 300 gold investment.
Adapting not in a great position here. Half health, very low mana, is not going to be in a position to contest the Gold Fury if this continues, especially after that beautiful double tap from Andy, but it doesn't look like Cloud9 is going to be in position to push an objective.
And he knows now that he's poked out the enemy jungler and can make a safe rotation to the right side or even take this orange buff if he wants, but hot on his trail are two members of Epsilon. I'm not sure Andy sees them.
I don't know that this could possibly result in anything. She's going to go in place. She's going to get taunted out. Bludgeon going to be wasted. Still willing to fight, it seems. Andy on his heels, turning around a 1v2 in favor of Dimi.
Yeah, it just seems like Andis is really trying to make something happen on the map, but Epsilon's playing such great defense, buying time for their Freya to get to her power spike.
Playing that keep away here in the mid lane. Now it's Neith that's going to get aggressed. Guan Yu, well, the entire dual lane's over here as emiltoo's moved over as well. Xbalanque pushes up the wave and falls back to base.
Andy so quick on the teleport, just barely dodges the ultimate coming out from adapting. A wasted Fear No Evil again now will push the position back for Cloud9.
Really smart plays here by Epsilon. They're taking the fight to the global ult. So now the Athena is basically powerless in this situation because they're taking the fight to the solo lane.
She's going to go into breastplate here. She's going to max out her CDR. Well, they can't afford that many rotations, though. So as this game goes on just a little while longer, she's going to have that upper hand back once again, but it's going to take her a while to get there. We're looking at gold at hand right now, and Athena, 581, still needs about 400 more gold, and with her teleport being down, it's going to be a bit before we see this go off.
Yeah, Breastplate of Valor. Going to be a difference maker here in this lane, but in the same right, Bellona does have the Stone of Gaia completed and is going to be pretty resilient against that Athena damage. Other items coming out, of course, it's the race of the Fatalis for emiltoo here, and they're going to look to slow this down on the side of Cloud9 as they once again move the Thor and the Neith to the left side of the map.
Left side mid camps should belong to red, but instead they're going to look for the kill. Bringing Athena down with him.
And this should be enough damage here with the lockdown. No, up into the ultimate will go emiltoo. Going to try to get in position to hit the wall. In the back of this is andinster, but iRaffer's horse will be enough to force them away, and still just 2 even kills. One on the backside, here comes Baskin.
They're trying for it, and a little bit too late was andinster. He didn't get Athena where she needed to be. That should have been a kill, but he was a little bit slow on the draw. Rotating back in, we see the creeps getting stunned, gonna miss, adapting, going right in to try to clear the wave and alleviate pressure on the duo lane. Baskin diving deep, forcing iRaffer to dodge, and a shot coming out from Andy to close this one down.
The Athena can only do so much. You see her having a really hard time confirming damage against these mobile characters. In the meantime, however, all the way on the right side of the map, split push coming out from Dimi. He will take down a tier 1.
Yeah, the big problem here is C9 is focusing so many resources onto this purple buff, and all they're getting for it is just a purple buff. Here, Dimi's free farming, getting a free tower, getting that global gold for Epsilon, and they have the lead.
And now Dimi still has his teleport available to him. He'll be able to max that and get to any point on the map. In fact, he's going to get that end Stone of Gaia, ensuring that his map pressure has now tripled. Epsilon should probably look towards a Gold Fury or another objective to ensure that they continue this map control.
And based on the rotations from Cloud9, Dimi will not be forced to use a teleport to get back to lane. He can simply walk back, farm out the back camp, farm with the blue buff, and have that available for the next fight when the Athena ults in.
And this is very dangerous for C9 because Bellona is the one god you don't want to get ahead because they do have the double hunter comp.
The only ultimate available right now for Cloud9 is going to be this Defender of Olympus. There's so much space control on the side of Epsilon that bringing the fight in is going to be a big win for them. They've already forced Andy out. JeffHindla, a sitting duck right now, and a rotation from Dimi will ensure a proper retreat after a clean kill. Epsilon up 3-0.
And iRaffer just hops onto the Cavalry Charge ultimate there.
Oh, nice
just to
shot.
avoid. emiltoo takes a ton of damage and is forced into an ultimate of his own. So a couple of ultimates going to be expended by Epsilon just to stay safe. Running back again is Baskin. Neith World Weaver is enough to find a kill, and up will go Thor. Down will come Thor. Dimi takes a bunch of damage, but do they have enough to secure the kill onto the Bellona? Now with the extra protection, but the detonation from MLC Self finds a double kill, and now the rest of the team falling back. BaRRaCCuDDa moving forward, but he takes too much damage. The backflip, the Athena ultimate coming in as well. Can they get anything on the back of this? Going so deep is Cloud9 and Baskin. He doesn't have enough damage to find this kill. The tower kills andinster.
He's stuck. Baskin's in a bad spot. Yammyn, how long until it creeps? He's looking for the stun. Baskin should be able to preempt the strike back in. Are you crazy? He misses the taunt. He was able to dodge out of the fog. Stealth coming up big, but not for MLC.
Wow, really great team fight there by C9. Epsilon kind of was a little greedy there. Bellona went in with less than half HP, and little did she know a weave there was waiting for her.
That weave was killer, man.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to die at all. I mean, Dimi just exploded.
Well, let's just not talk about andinster dying to the tier 2 tower, huh?
He died to the tower. I mean, like, honestly, he gave his team a way in and out, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
And no kill credited Epsilon there as well, as no one had dealt damage to him.
Experience difference in favor of Cloud9. Gold difference, albeit only 300, in favor of Cloud9. It looks like North America has taken this one back.
Yeah, Freya there got caught. She wanted to get a little bit more damage off with her pulse combination. andinster landed a great wall, followed by Stealth's root, and she's dead.
Experience per minute chart has come up here. It's going to be Stealth riding the top, surprisingly. Like you said, I know him for characters like Janus and Scylla, very mobile mages. Neith was not a character I would have expected him to be carrying the game with. 2-1-0 I don't think is essentially a carry score, but I mean, he's literally 100% of his kills.
The problem, though, is Stealth is going to start falling off towards later in the game, while Nuwa and the Freya is going to be ramping up.
That's true. I mean, Nuwa in the end game, she pops that ult, sees where everyone is, able to let her team get in. I mean, that's going to be very, very hard to deal with.
Once again, Cloud9 going to be looking at the purple buff here as a chance to make a play. And looks like Jeff will not be in time this time, and the purple buff will go to emiltoo for what seems like the first time this game.
Adapting, dodging the stun. He's going to go in.
Oh my, Cloud9
away.
Now also realizing this red buff's up, but they will not continue to aggress here. They're looking for the Gold Fury instead.
Gold Fury, yeah, it looks like it's going to be at least gestured. They have 2 Hunters and 2 Guardians. I mean, they can make quick work of this, but it seems like it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be washed for now.
Yeah, Epsilon's doing a great job of just not falling for C9's game plan. C9 wants to poke them out, wants to get picks so they could do the free Gold Fury.
Bottom goal per minute right now, of course, is going to be the 2 supports, but right above that is going to be Freya, having a hard time keeping up. It's seen 6,100 compared to the 65 from BaRRaCCuDDa. I mean, these are like, I would say these are the 2 biggest hybrid carries from the duo lane, yeah?
Right. This late game is really going to depend on how much damage can BaRRaCCuDDa do and how much damage can the Freya do and who can stay alive longer.
It's kind of like crits versus how quick can Freya get into the air.
Exactly.
Well, it's a modest gold advantage on the side of Xbalanque there, and looking all around the board. It's very, very even. Adapting in a lot of trouble here. Do they have the burst to follow it up? A big stun comes out by Yammyn there to save his jungler.
I'm very smart of adapting to not burn his ult, not get crazy, just jump away, make sure he separates himself. He didn't even pop his beads there. That's such good reliance and understanding of the game.
But forcing back that Hunbots has opened up the Gold Fury, and Cloud9 is happy to follow suit, and they will take it down ever so quickly. Cloud9 takes the first Gold Fury of the game in 15.5 minutes.
Yeah, and this is what C9 has been trying to do all this time. They want to get one pick. One Thor stun leads up to so much follow-up damage, becomes a 4v5, and they know they could burst down the Gold Fury very fast.
That was so quick. It was so quick. I mean, there was nowhere for Epsilon to even get into the jungle. I mean, they had ward coverage, sure, but there was just so much space control from Cloud9 and trying to get through a shockwave, trying to get through the taunts as well. I mean, Cloud9 had a perfect play.
Well, 16 minutes into this one, only 5 kills. BaRRaCCuDDa liable to become the 6th here as iRaffer and emiltoo move forward, but no, Nuwa ultimate not sufficient to pick him up. The team starting to make their way over there. Looks like Athena and Thor did try to make a play there briefly onto Dimi, but nothing cooking.
Yeah, Andy's going to force back to the base here. Very low mana, wants to make sure he's able to get back into these fights. Almost every ultimate available on the map right now except for BaRRaCCuDDa and Yammyn. And for that, I'm looking at Baskin. Full cooldown reduction with Defender of Olympus means he should be utilizing it as much as possible. And then, of course, utilizing his teleport to get back to lane to hold the tier 2 tower.
Yeah, Epsilon here is trying to get their Freya a little bit of advantage over the Xbalanque. Freya's falling about almost 1,000 gold behind the Xbalanque, so she needs some help.
I will say, like, overall, though, this Cloud9 global-based strategy has been pretty underwhelming. Like, they haven't really played this lineup particularly well to the strengths of the lineup in particular. Individual performances, obviously very high with this squad, but I don't feel like the draft is really moving in any direction that they're playing well with it.
Adapting, we're following right now as he's heading over towards the right side. I don't think that going towards an Athena is really the right call here, considering how mobile she is. He's just looking to get, I guess, a small amount of experience. He'll get into level 15. You'll see that he has Max's Sacred Monkey Toss. Next up will be Somersault. Very important levels for me. I feel like Hunbots never really hits critical mass until 20, because getting that cooldown reduction on the jump or the extra damage on his poke is just so important.
Again, yeah, Hunbots has good, decent scaling with levels, and he's going into defense, so that means they're playing for the late game. I like how Epsilon's playing this game. They know that they have a way better late game than C9.
They dumped
so much.
Everything in iRaffer there, and he just hops on to the red hair and runs away, no problem.
There's not even a Gold Fury. Why are they trying to get a pick so heavily? Yammyn might be able to turn this around. Stealth gonna take the Geb shield here, and they'll get the purple they're fighting so desperately over.
Yeah, C9 just playing to the advantage of the Athena. This is the reason why they picked the Athena. They wanted to spend all their attention onto the duo lane, keep this Freya down.
Speaking of Athena, fighting a 2v1 might be in a tad bit of trouble. She's going to use her ultimate to avoid the stun, get over towards the left side. No, Andy coming right back down, but Neith takes the air to avoid it. Freya rotating over for some damage. They're looking at Baskin.
And it's there a lot of patience there. Holds his stun to find all three members of Epsilon as they try to move in. Here comes the ultimate from Hunbots as well. Not going to find much on the side of Adapting. Backflipping out. On the left side is MLC Stealth. And the only one still engaged is Dimi. And he's doing, you know, pretty good work against the three members of Cloud9.
Left side, emiltoo continues to get pressured. He is the only one remaining on the map with an ultimate aside from Dimi, who is really not coming to his rescue at this point. Adapting is here. BaRRaCCuDDa is going to take tail here, it seems. Try to rotate, but he's getting cut off. Dimi is rotating over.
Oh, MLC Stealth does pick up a kill onto Yammyn. Still has the ultimate available as well. Yammyn just tried to poke his nose out into the jungle. emiltoo in a lot of trouble. There's a Neith ultimate available if they can keep vision. Not being channeled yet by MLC itself. emiltoo's gonna get healed up briefly by the Guan Yu, but still a tier 2 will fall in favor of Cloud9.
Cloud9 had complete control front to back, and even when Dimi seemed to have a good rotation, he recognized that his carries were getting taken down to the backline. Adapting had a perfect steal of that World Weaver ultimate, but emiltoo was already forced so far out of the fight that the tier 2 was likely to fall. Big win for C9.
Yeah, Epsilon here looks a little shaken. When Hunbots came in and ulted the Athena, there was no follow-up damage.
Right.
He was basically trying to kill the Athena by himself.
It's not going to happen.
What really is so impressive about this game, and I think the big lesson to be learned here, is that Cloud9 wins the neutral game. Right? When there's not a lot of kills flying left and right, and when there's not a lot of team fights, Cloud9 is out farming Epsilon, which if you are a European contender is not something that was probably pretty easy to stomach, considering that Cloud9 is beating the team that just ran through all of the European division basically during the Pro League, doing this, like out farming everybody, and Cloud9 just showing that, well, you know, the grandfathered in players are still pretty good.
Well, it's always been the same way. Ever since like 2012, Europe was a much more passive region, and North American players are generally very aggressive, but Cloud9 has seemed to have adapted, it seems. They're 6 kills deep in 20 minutes. This is not normally something we see from Cloud9.
Exactly. You know, European players, they like their hyper carries in the dual lane. They like their Freya. They like their Rom. And they like to stall at the game long enough for those carries to get to the late game.
Well, they're going to get to the late game, it seems. They're 20 minutes in. emiltoo right now, level 15, but BaRRaCCuDDa stepping it up, level 16. You'll notice a pretty big experience difference in favor of Cloud9 as well, about 7,500 gold difference, bordering 5,000.
Yeah, as we move back to the items, you'll notice that the Xbalanque has a pretty tremendous individual gold lead over the Freya, and it's just about to get bigger as Cloud9 has started up yet another Gold Fury, and this one's completely uncontested. Hunbots backing at the right side back camps, the rest of the team farming up there, and Epsilon's playing this scared. If they're 3-4-man farming back camps at this stage in the game, then they know that Cloud9 is outclassing them in the team fights.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really uncharacteristic from Epsilon. They should have known the Gold Fury timer. They saw it go down. They heard it go down, but they just weren't there to contest it.
And, you know, Guan Yu is over on the right lane. Like, even if they tried to contest with their whole team over on the right by starting that Fire Giant, Baskin could have delayed long enough to get the rest of the team over there. Remember, MLC Stealth has a global, BaRRa has a global, Andy has a semi-global. They would have had presence at that Fire Giant. 3-manning the back camp not only was their only option, but it seemed, even if they didn't have the knowledge that we have as casters, like the best one on the map right.
Very interested to see what Epsilon does to adapt in the next game around this double teleport setup from Cloud9.
Yeah, this is something that Andy's been doing for quite some time now. Not only in, you know, obviously scrims and tournament, but in ranked as well. He loves this extra viable piece of movement. It turns Anvil of Dawn into a true global.
Well, yesterday we saw JeffHindla pick up a teleport. And basically in the middle of the Pro League season this year, we saw some spicy teleports coming out on Guardians and Assassins here and there. And it looks like andinster's the only one that really has kind of run with it and been like, this is it. But before we move on to another point, I do want to quickly touch on two brawlers beats on the side of Cloud9.
I want to touch on Adapting's health bar, which is diminishing very, very quickly. Though Baskin's getting turned on, he's kind of out of position.
And
he's
this is going up.
Yeah, they're going to try to combo. They're not going to get it, though. Dimi still in the backline controlling, and Baskin's completely out of the fight, though I'm pretty sure he can teleport back in.
Yammyn takes a ton of damage. iRaffer trying to make his way in as well. Dimi's going to go up and down. Athena has gone back to the base and is going to be porting back in shortly. Indeed, she will arrive into the mid lane. Dimi is here, but the Cataclysm from JeffHindla is right on the mark, taking a bunch of damage now as the Bellona. Hunbot's ultimate just to disengage. Not a great placement coming out of Adapting. If they want to continue aggressing or hold Baskin Robin out, he moves forward. He's not worried about the Athena stun. The shield of the Underworld popped as well to force emiltoo back. No life steal for you. In will go Baskin. Another taunt coming soon. The tier 2 tower ready to fall, and indeed it will go down. Baskin Robin still going to be alive somehow. An MLC stealth and Xbalanque in the backlines unchecked. Epsilon concedes a tier 2.
No kills. Still 3-3, no kills. Somehow Cloud9 is getting these little bits of damage to force Epsilon away. They're baiting their tanky frontliners to ensure that they're still going to stay alive, utilizing teleport beautifully, and they still wind up gaining 1,500 out of that.
Yeah, C9 did put themselves in harm's way to force that tower down, but Epsilon just does not have enough damage to take out anybody.
Yammyn's going to solo down this red buff, try to get some extra damage online. He's level 16 now compared to MLC Stealth 3 levels, his senior.
Well, falling back to the base is going to be Yammyn. Yeah, that level 16, you know, Nuwa scales so heavily off of levels. Moving into the Soul Trap now as well. That is going to be the Soul Reaver?
I don't think so. A third item?
We've seen it before.
I mean, I guess he has to. It's so late, Book of Thoth.
Yeah, but the problem with the Nuwa here is that no one's going in on her. They're all poking her from far away, and her strength is having someone come into her so she could pop her minions, do a ton of burst damage, but she's taking damage from far away, from Neith Arrow and from Thor Hammer.
But you gotta love, once again, moving back to this itemization out of Cloud9, the double brawler speed stick going into Stone of Gaia, the Mail of Renewal, and of course the heal from Guan Yu.
I think the biggest issue right now for Epsilon is that Dimi's strange itemization has kind of hurt him. Yeah, look at that.
Almost 10K gonna come out from the Guan Yu there, and that's why you see those brawler speed sticks.
But, I mean, check out Dimi's build. He went into Stone of Gaia against 2 Guardians, an Assassin, and 2 Hunters. Like, that item is not going to be able to help him in this team fight.
It was purely for the laning phase.
Yeah, I think he didn't really need to worry about the laning phase. If you max out your Scourge, you should be able to sustain a lot of the damage that Athena can do.
If you needed some magical damage to do it, I mean, something like Spirit Roll would have been more than enough.
Yeah, and Athena, I don't think particularly builds well into
there's 2 magic users there. He's alive.
yeah, and this is like the best possible situation. But here comes the Thor. andinster should be able to block off his escape route on Dimi. Ultimate's going to be forced out underneath the tier 1. This should be an easy tier 1 for Cloud9.
They're trying for it, going real deep as Baskin, trying to keep Yammyn honest. No stun even coming through, and BaRRaCCuDDa's going to turn his sights to the tier 1 and try for 500 more gold. Yet, again, no kills.
All 5 members of Cloud9 are here over on the right side of the map and looking for more. andinster is going to move in. In some trouble is Yammyn. He's going to use his beads. Beads are down on Nuwa, and that's certainly the call for Cloud9. Is going to look to dive in and pick up a kill on Yammyn. You see andinster waiting in the wings.
Right side still getting pressured. All 5 members of C9 going to be facing all 5 members of Epsilon. I very much doubt they're going to get out of this one without a casualty.
Baskin moves in. He's going to find himself some trouble. Shield of the Underworld going to be used. iRaffer gun is going to go down. And in will come Adapting. Does he have enough? Up will go Thor. Thor going to be coming down any moment now. andinster does find the kill on Dimi. Into the back line will go Hunbots. And here comes that Thor ultimate. emiltoo in so much trouble. And the beads are going to be used into the ultimate. Down will go Yammyn. emiltoo finds 1 kill. And here's andinster. There's a stun. There's the ultimate. BaRRaCCuDDa with a double. He got the tier 2 coming as well. And Cloud9 poised to take this game.
They're in a great spot now. They gained 4 for 1 in that engagement, a ton of gold, and now they have their options. They're going to skip the tier 2, go right for the Phoenix. Are they going to try to end?
Yeah, C9 is playing with their lead great. They're not giving Epsilon any chance to farm. Any chance to farm.
I thought they were going to go right to the Fire Giant. What a crazy call. They're going to get that Phoenix down immediately. But now Adapting's already up. iRaffer is back up. 13 seconds till Dimi, and oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, the big reason why C9 didn't go for the Fire Giant is because they have such a lead. They know it's free for them. What they're going to do is they're going to look to get vision control around the Fire Giant, bait Epsilon into face checking it, and make plays from there.
Look at the difference in the gold game. Look at the difference in the damage. And it really didn't seem like they had so much control in the beginning, but BaRRaCCuDDa, of course, taking top honors here with 2 kills of the 4.
Look at the sentry coverage here down on the bottom half of the screen on the right side of that mini-map. I mean, tremendous sentry coverage there from Cloud9. They're definitely gearing up for this Fire Giant buff.
Adapting, going into the blue buff here. Fire Giant buff is going to be started soon. Strangely, Jeff. JeffHindla and the boys are going towards Gold Fury?
Yeah, they'll just take a quick Gold Fury. Why not? They're doing, you know, we're pumping out 700 damage crits out of BaRRaCCuDDa. It's not going to take very long here. Xbalanque, such a beast in the late game here. Executioner and Rageblade online.
Yeah, that's it. You just don't want to leave anything for Epsilon to even have a chance of coming back.
Look at that gold difference. C9, 13,000 in the lead after a very early about 1,000 deficit. It seemed like Epsilon had control, but the hyper carries are coming online. I just don't see how this comp has turned into such a powerhouse against a character like Bellona, who is strictly anti-hunter, a character like iRaffer, who can heal through a lot of their damage, or emiltoo, who can box out Xbalanque.
Yeah, I think the big story of this game are the two Guardians. The two Guardians have been doing a great job. Geb staying in the backline, shielding his teammates when they needed to, and Baskin on the Athena, really soaking up the damage and getting good taunts.
You know, this is a comp that's that Cloud9 has that's very similar to when you guys rebroke onto the scene as Eager with the double hunter, sometimes triple hunter. It seems very reminiscent of that playstyle, trying to fight as much from the backline, bait in their tanks. It looks like they're taking a page out of your book.
Two-man shield wall as well. Adapting's going to try to move in and disrupt on the backside. He will be successful. Up will go Thor. He has an opportunity to find a big stun. He's going to go for Adapting as the highest priority target, and in a lot of trouble is the Hunbots, and the beautiful Mjolnir's attunement to the stun off the mark there from your boy Andy. Yammyn going to try to move back. The stun's going to be there. He's going to use his beads as well. He's going to barely make it up into the ultimate in time. Andinster's going to go after iRaffer. Doesn't see Yammyn behind him. That could have been a kill to pick up. Dashing in now is going to be Baskin. Shield wall's there as well. Yammyn does get taunted back in, does get cleaned up as well. That's two members down, and on their way in is Cloud9 going to look to take the Fire Giant.
Adapting not going to look to let them have it for free, though, as he starts rotating up through the lane. He's going to have to walk through some wards to get there. Already a teleport in, it seems, that we're going to have Dimi come in from the back line. There will be some resistance here as Cloud9 looks for another major objective.
Yeah, Epsilon has to stop.
Oh, they're just going to try to force Dimi.
That was so cute. Teleports into the back of the blue buff to block off Dimi. Dimi does not have his ultimate available to him, just a dash. He is completely surrounded, caught, and Cloud9, another kill.
Dimi just out of position.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, they had to go and try to contest that Fire Giant. If C9 gets the Fire Giant, the game is 100% over.
BaRRaCCuDDa goes right for it, starts laying waste. They got another Hunter coming in as well. MLC Stealth and BaRRaCCuDDa should make short work of this objective.
Yeah, just the Executioner with the two Hunters alone is going to be enough. JeffHindla's going to come in just to shield up BaRRaCCuDDa from too much damage out of here, but nonetheless, Fire Giant is picked up just before the 29.5-minute mark.
The biggest problem here with Epsilon's comp against Double Hunter is they had no way to damage C9's backline. The Nuwa is very frontline oriented with her minions, plus stun combination with her Shining Metal, and the Hunters just had free reign.
Well, I assume Epsilon had the same reaction we did to this draft, which was, no way Cloud9's going to play Double Hunters. They've never done that.
emiltoo getting taken for a small ride there. I'm not sure if he was forced into his beads, but he did get pushed back. Not a lot of damage, but another bird going down. Cloud9 has one more Phoenix to take down, although the mid one poised to respawn.
And Titan's already been chipped away at here, losing about, let's call that a sixth of his life.
Yeah, he's down to a little over 7,000 health right now. Can be done very quickly with two Hunters.
Yeah, and realistically, they may be able to pile in if it takes any more chip.
There it goes.
Cloud9 can just probably dive it. Adapting goes really, really deep here, and he's going to disengage right away. Not a clean engagement. Baskin Robin in the front line taking quite a bit of damage, but he's just so strong on this Athena. An amazing Thor suffer from Andinster. That could be enough to win the game. Andy not going to go down to the ultimate from Freya. Xbalanque will find a kill. That's a triple for BaRRaCCuDDa, and the surrender vote coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, Cloud9 will move on to finals point 2-1 over Epsilon Esports.
Clean win. Little bit of trouble in the beginning, but North America pulls it out. The crowd erupts as the blue and white take game 3. Epsilon on their heels again. Set point to Cloud9.
Yeah, I don't expect to see a warrior support again from Epsilon. Paradigm tried it against Enemy. It didn't work. It didn't work here. I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of Guan support this weekend. I don't know that I'm on board.
No way. It just doesn't provide enough peel. It doesn't provide enough control, especially against Double Guardian.
Yeah, the Double Guardian, Double Hunter set seemed to work very, very well for Cloud9, even though that Athena from Baskin Robin didn't come up with any enormous plays, and also they didn't really use that global presence too particularly well.
Got some taunts, though.
The taunts, yeah, and just the continued reinitiation. It's so hard to know when Athena is in range. What is it, about 30 feet probably on that taunt, plus the dash, it goes 55. She's a very, very long initiation range.
It is probably like 30 feet or close to it. Oh, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Baskin, he just went in there. The threat of the taunt was enough for Epsilon to really back off and get pressured.
Well, with that, Cloud9 is looking to eliminate Epsilon in 4 games. As we move in to the 4th game of this best of 5, guys. Let's hear what the analysts had to say. Golden Boy, breakdown game number 3.
Thank you so much, Bart. Wow, what a matchup again. What a series that we have here, folks. This has been so good, top to bottom. Both series today, even if you think about the Paradigm enemy matchup, everything so far that has happened at Day 3 of Smite World Championships has been madness. But in any case, guys, break it down from the top. Adonis, that first blood to get things going here. Why don't you talk about that?
The first blood was actually a pick on Jeff. We actually saw Cloud9 be the aggressors for most of the game. And the first thing they did was try and utilize that global rotation. We saw a 4-man gank on iRaffer deep in the jungle at 7 minutes. And then after that, all of Cloud9 had all of their ults wasted. Epsilon baited Gold Fury and then picked up Jeff on this rotation. I believe it was a 2-for-1 as well, as Stealth had rotated and got out of position.
Yeah, and a good start there, but unfortunate for them, they were just not able to keep it going. It was a very neck-and-neck battle, though, right? I mean, you know, low kills, and it's a far cry from what we saw in that last game, right? Where, you know, at a certain point, it just kind of got a little ridiculous. Taking a look at some of the stats here real quick as we see some awesome stats coming out of Cloud9, you know, across the board. And Anatoly, why don't you talk about this for us here?
So I think a recurring theme here for this game was the fact of the matter they had 2 hunters and they didn't really build accordingly to that. The Bellona, they didn't go Shield of the Underworld, didn't go Merguardian Male, no Hide of Nemean Line. Freya specifically when Hog won, didn't go Heavenly Agility, couldn't engage, couldn't disengage from a lot of those team fights.
And the Freya, really, we saw the Hog. What we're assuming is he got that to get to lane early because we really didn't see we really haven't seen the Hog utilized in any other way. He did it to get to lane early, to get the pressure, but still it didn't matter. BaRRaCCuDDa on a Xbalanque, Geb actually got control of that lane, and I mean BaRRaCCuDDa, player of the game for that one, just played out of his mind.
Kuda Mania, running wild all over you.
The positioning was so good on him every single team fight.
Yeah, and here comes some highlights there of that matchup that BaRRaCCuDDa had. Certainly a good one for him, one that he hopes to replicate going in to game number 4. But Epsilon, they have some work to do. But let's go over to you, QE, and talk about BaRRaCCuDDa's play in this game 3 match.
BaRRaCCuDDa, he actually played a late game god, which makes me happy because BaRRaCCuDDa is really a hyper carry. I don't like seeing him on Neith that much. So and they had like 3 pillars actually. Thor can peel really well. Athena can engage and peel, and they had Gab, which is the god of peeling because he has shields, has knockups, stuns, and it was pretty good because they had 2 ADCs, and 3 like pillars to protect the backline.
Now, something else also I want to talk about your notes because you wrote Athena, Athena, Athena. So tell us about that.
Baskin just was forcing so much stuff. Like he was forcing towns, 2-man towns, 1-man towns, anyways. But like it was getting people out of position and forcing, and then BaRRaCCuDDa and Stealth would be able to poke them out, and then they would get objectives out of that.
I think poke is the key word there. What we talked about with enemy was their ability to execute the compositions that they end up drafting. And so far, Cloud9 has shown to be able to do the same thing. Game 1, it was all about the mass global rotation, splitting the map. And it kind of happened similar here in Game 2, but it was more about the poke war. They had the double hunters, and they also had the Thor to set up even more damage. So what they did is they repeatedly found players out of position or in the jungle and just used their abilities. They didn't necessarily have to force the engagement or force the fight, but they're just like, what are you going to do? Take a little bit of poke, and then they waited until a couple players were low, and then they would go on them. Then they would dive them. And you saw the low number of deaths. That's because of the fact that they kept poking players out, and then Epsilon recognized that they're so low that they can't even fight.
Yeah, Cloud9 recognized their strengths with the double Guardian, the double Hunters, the long-range poke with the Thor. That is so much that they kept consistently invading the purple buff on numerous occasions. Even there was a point in time when Gold Fury was down, but they still knew the purple buff was coming up, and they wanted to force these team fights in their favor.
Yeah. Plus, one of Freya's weaknesses is the CC. Like, they had Gab, and Thor, and Athena. Like, it's so much CC that Freya can handle.
I'm a little bit worried here about emiltoo specifically, right? This was his game that he was actually set up to, I think, carry, because the front lines really get destroyed by Freya when she has her items online, but a lot of low damage coming up from emiltoo. He also went that hog build to get to lane early and get the pressure, but the fact that he wasn't able to get ahead early was a detriment for him. He didn't have the heavenly agility to escape the more aggressive plays that C9 threw out on him, and I don't know who hit I don't know who hit F6 in that game. I don't know who it was, but emiltoo has always been known as King Tilt.
Hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What is this?
What?
Oh, this again?
Got this. Come on, EU.
Oh, this guy. You know, we need a... No, we can't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's technically illegal, but that's okay. Theoretically. Oh, man. I really, really hope someone from the European consulate was not watching that. Okay.
Look at Tolly's face. He's so happy with himself.
Don't do it.
C9 all the way, boys.
Okay.
Okay. So let's recollect ourselves, boys. Okay,
So
get back into it.
So honestly, F6ing there, I think, is a sign of frustration on at least one member of that team. Epsilon have only been pressured once in the fall, and that was at Super Regionals. I think they took that and they were better and they came into this. But that F6, like, sometimes it's hard to know without hearing their comms, but I feel like someone's frustrated. emiltoo, he's been the one to tilt. He's publicly stated it. During the summer split, when their team was actually positive, they were like 8-4 at the end of it. He had the most deaths of any hunter, because if he doesn't like someone specifically, he actually plays a very over-aggressive style, and I'm really worried right now about that dual lane.
Makes sense. Who do you think for Epsilon has actually been stepping up, though? Who's been the player that's been, for Epsilon that's been on the money, that's been, contributing a lot despite the losses? Anyone that in your mind that pops up?
I mean, like, Adapting has a lot of gods in his pool. Like, he's been expanding that a lot. Thor's been banned and taken away from him, so maybe if their first pick, they're going to try to lean on that and try to get a consistent early game pressure from him, setting up the mid laner Yammyn, and maybe controlling the rest of the pace of the game from there.
I agree. I think Dapsing is the one that's doing more of the work than anyone else, and his gut pull is pretty good.
Okay, so we're gonna have to see, what Epsilon can do here. I mean, this is it, folks. Backs against the wall now, right? We saw this with. That's just.
There's Europe's hopes
That's
and
so
dreams.
BM. That is just so BM. Like every part of that. So, this is it. Right? I mean, their chance of the long road that Epsilon has had. Keep in mind, this team played in the prelims as well, right? So they had to play the best of ones to get to this point. It's been grueling, and they had a great matchup against Fnatic as well. And I know that they do not want this to all be for naught, right? To be one step away from being able to claim the title here at the Smite World Championships. It's a pressure-filled situation, but of course, people, that means that Game 4 is about to begin. I hope everyone out there is excited for this matchup. Will Cloud9 make their way to face off against their brethren from North America, Enemy, in the finals, or will Epsilon Esports force a game number 5? Only one way to find out, and let's head over to the picks and bans.